But anyway, let's talk about reviews.
Ooh, haha, Yashi.
Well, so it doesn't matter how good your book is. Someone out there on the internet's gonna hate it. Most people might love it. I hope most people might love it, but you're gonna get someone who doesn't. Maybe their review is justified. Maybe it's not. Maybe they just don't like you. What do you do about it? Yashi, what do you do about it? What do you do when you get that one-star review?
Cry. Just kidding. Honestly, like when it comes to reviews, a lot of the author discourse is not to look into it because readers are just so unpredictable. They know what they enjoy, but then they're going to also not feel that book at some time because XYZ. So they're very inclined in making their voice heard. Sadly, their voice may be damaging on the mental. I since the political climate has spiked, we've also been seeing like reviews where it's like, oh, this book is too DEI or it has lesbian characters or what have you. Those reviews aren't helpful for us. So like when it comes to what we should do, I'm more on the side of ignoring reviews altogether because it's for the readers, not for you. It's not a tell on how good you are at writing. It's more just like, okay, this is what we preferred. And you may prefer it for these reasons, or you may not prefer it for these reasons.
Here's a question for you, and something you said kind of sparked this thought. A lot of times people will say like, or it'll be even like the blurb of a book, like this is, like this other series. I see it a lot. Just, I was on Urban Fantasy Kick, so it's like, oh, it's like, this is like the Dresden Files. This is like the Iron Druid. This is like, I'm drawing blank on another one. And when you read it, the publishers or the marketers, whoever are using that as a way to draw you in, is like, yes, I love that series. Let me read this. Do you think that's actually a damaging way to do it? Because when you read it and it's like you're expecting, the Dresden Files, Aaron Druid, whoever, and it's not that, you're basically set up for disappointment.
I hate to say it, but yeah, almost because in your head, when you're reading a book, you have this standard of what that other book was. If you're going into a new book and it says it's like that, you're thinking like, oh, so it's gonna have this, this, and this theme. And then you go in and it's just like, oh no, it's lacking all of those themes. Why did I read this? I wasted my time.
Hmm.
And that's what causes these reviews, in my own opinion. Like, people are like, no, it's not like that at all. Don't read this book. It's awful. Blah, blah, blah. Because they're going in with these, like, what's it called? These ex
Preconceived,
expectations.
yeah, preconceived expectations.
Yeah. And then having it crushed in front of you is like, oh, I wasted my time. Yay.
Beatrice, what are your thoughts on one-star reviews and what to do with them and how to handle them?
Um, Lately I've been being like the person that is completely opposed to everything that everyone says, and I'm sorry. I agree with the fact that like reviews are for readers, and that you as a reader are leaving a review for other readers to make a decision in if that book is going to be for them or not. That is, I think, the perfect way that things should exist. Unfortunately, some readers get don't make the reviews necessarily with that intention. Some readers do write down, if you've seen Goodreads, sometimes they do say, oh, author, I really liked, or I really dislike, and try to address the author personally, which is kind of uncomfortable because again, authors, like, it could be very detrimental to their mental health for them to read reviews, but also a lot of them are very nowadays, especially because of everything that Joshi was saying, very extreme. And since I don't like this, it must mean that this book is bad, which is like honestly just a personal opinion. However, and the reason why I was like, oh, I'm going to be differ from usually the advice there is because I am one of the authors, and I do believe that there's a lot of authors out there that I have extreme anxiety and I have extreme imposter syndrome. And sometimes reading a good review really, really, really can make the difference in me quitting writing altogether or not. And it's something that I am managing myself in therapy, and I am managing in my own personal life. But there's a lot of people that are still struggling with those things. And I think that is the reason why some authors feel inclined to read reviews. So for those authors out there, I'm talking to you. The way that I handle is that I have my best friend go over my reviews and my comments and everything, and have her send to me screenshots of the things that would encourage me. And I do the other thing. I read the ones for my best friend, the things that are going to be valuable, things that are encouraging, things that are going to aid her in her writing career, things that she's doing good, but maybe she's not noticing. For example, things like pacing or stuff like, I really like this book because the pacing's great. I would love if someone told me that, because I feel like I struggle a lot with pacing. So there is like an upside on like using reviews for good. However, I don't think that it will be a good idea for you yourself to directly go into your own reviews. But I think it's okay if you use like a proxy, a friend that is not going to come and be like, by the way, people are talking shit about you, because
So
that is not going to be productive and useful.
so for your proxy, does she also look at the negative ones and actually pull out constructive feedback?
Yes, I mean that would be just a conversation. I don't think she has ever actually sent me a screenshot of
Okay.
like, this is what this person did, but definitely, hey, like, people are saying that they didn't understand why this character did
Okay.
this. So maybe like in next time, more in a general way, because I feel like, and I have seen it, and it's really disheartening whenever you see a comment that someone did. Just like, I mean, people shouldn't, it comes both ways, right? People shouldn't have to police the way that they are explaining their personal opinion, because
Hmm.
that is also not okay. It's their own personal opinion. But also, like, if you're reading that, it's okay if you're affected by it. Just try to kind of like, don't take it personal, because again, it's the opinion of one person. But I have read comments that is like, oh my God, why would she do this? It's fucking dumb. And it's like, wow, okay, that is not helpful. That is not constructive. I understand that that's what you think, but that really hurt. So it's as usual, like, and the review discourse is a very delicate one, because people see them very differently, even what the actual stars mean in reviews. And this is something that Jashi can probably explain like even more. But um as far as I know, stars on Goodreads and Amazon, they're a little bit different. And they affect the book itself way more than what readers think that they affect. And usually that is only talked about in author circles. For
Hmm.
example, a 3-star review on Amazon is a bad review as per the algorithm. If
Hmm.
you read a book and you put a 3-star in the Amazon, because I mean, for me, before I knew all of this, I would be like, 3 stars is like, it was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was decent. And then if it's actually bad, I would put 2 stars on one. A lot of people think like that, but the algorithm sees it being 3-star as not being amazing or at least great. And then it affects the book as a discoverability like
Yeah.
issue
I mean
situation.
that's something that I think there needs to be more transparency about because quite frankly, and I mean we had this discussion a lot when we were building on StoryForge, like what is a 1-star review?
Yeah.
What is a 5-star review? Like a 5-star review should mean like, hey, this is the greatest thing I've ever read. And a 3-star review, and I think that was probably our biggest sticking point was a 3-star review. Like, what is a 3-star review? Like in my mind, like if you finished a book, it should get no worse than 2 stars. If you finished a book and enjoyed it and didn't have to like press through it, like that gets at minimum of 3 stars. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm being generous, but if an author put the time to or took the time to write an entire book and I didn't have to like drag myself through it like it was, high school English, that person deserves at least 3 stars.
And then if you kind of liked it, then 4. And then if you really liked it, 5.
Yeah.
I am very lenient with my reviews, honestly, because I choose the things that I read very intentionally. And I don't push through books that I am not liking. I think honestly the only book that I really forced myself to push through was A Court of Thorns and Roses. And yeah, I honestly should have DNF'd it because it definitely wasn't the book for myself specifically. But I also think that if you're going to be out there, and then there's a difference between just leaving stars for a book or doing like a review on Goodreads or Amazon, and then another one if if you have a blog where you
Hmm.
review books, if you're an influencer, like, and you're doing all of this with the very intention of recommending. I see a lot of people do it very well, and I see a lot of people doing it very bad. Really well way to do it is, this is what the book is about, this is what it speaks, was it for me or not, why? And that's pretty much it. So that way you're giving people enough information, sometimes with spoilers, sometimes without. It depends on the style of the person to make their own decision. However, I do see a lot of people that, even again, in any like book review sites, like, link for my full review here. So you know that it's like the intention
Hmm.
of having people create an opinion, but then the actual review is extremely subjective, extremely opinionated, and you don't know a lot about the book after reading the review, but you know a lot about how the person felt
Hmm.
when reading it, which sometimes we want to create our own opinions, not have the opinions of others imposed to us directly.
I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't go in after reading reviews. Like, I don't touch Goodreads at all when it comes to books I pick. I just pick it up and be like, yep, let's go.
I
But
will
I
usually check to
guess
see if it, I won't read the reviews, but I will check like star ratings on a couple of sites because, you know, if I have two kids, so I don't necessarily have a ton of time to read, and I want to make sure
Yeah.
at least the book I'm reading has been well received by at least a handful of others.
for me, when it comes to the books I read, because a ton of Indian authors, their books are not very highly rated. I can't say why. I don't understand why. I think part of it might have to do with the fact that our prose, if that's the word, is a lot different from a Western audience's view of what it should be. And people aren't clicking that it's just not going to be standard. So they leave these reviews and it's pointing out that it's not standard. And I'm just like, of course it's not standard because they're writing for a different audience and you're in a different demographic and you have to put some leniency towards it. It
Those
That
those
was
are
is
a
people
thing.
those are
such a
people that
good
should
point.
those are people that shouldn't be leaving reviews.
Yeah.
Like if you do not understand that you are not the intended audience and you are leaving reviews saying, "Oh, this book was not written for me." Yeah, no shit.
I feel, and I'm gonna ask you because maybe that also happens within. And this is not Spanish slander, so I don't want any people from Spain coming to me.
Oh, specifically
However,
Spain.
no, very specifically.
You can reach her at
However,
Beatrice at
no,
storyforge.com.
please. I have a lot of friends from Spain. I really like and I really enjoy reading like things that have like I forget all the words in English, like specific words and things like that are from Spain and from regions in Spain because I like learning about it as
Hmm.
well. However, it is a very, very big issue within the book review community in Spanish. Whenever, let's be honest, because it's Europe, it's usually like it has a little bit of a bigger distribution. They have more contact with like European contracts or whatever, and the people that read in Spanish from Spain usually consume things that were originated in Spain.
Hmm.
Whenever a book from Latin America in Spanish written with like a Latin American like Spanish, because it's like it's different and it's different culturally or makes references or whatever, gets big enough that reaches Spain, which is happening more and more frequently, you can see the reviews being like, this book sucks, it should be translated to Spain Spanish, which is absolutely insane because it's the same language and it's just they're using maybe different words because of regionalisms and all of that. However, it has been an issue in which a lot of readers, and I haven't seen it happening a lot on the other end. Like, I feel like in Latin America, we consume more international stuff. So we're more familiarized with like reading different like regionalisms that maybe we're not used to, and we kind of like can understand by context or anything. There's a lot of things that are translated from English on publishers from Spain and then imported to Latin America. But there has been issues. I have read it through my eyes, like things like this should be translated. I can't understand. And what you see is that it's not using the version of the language that you feel most comfortable for, but you are damaging people's perception of the quality of the book. So I think that sounds a lot like what you were saying, Jashi, but I don't know if it has gotten to that extreme, but it is a very big problem that I really don't like when people do, because
Hmm.
again, it talks about the quality of the book in a very subjective way. And that specifically is like, if it's a book that, for example, is taking part in like Argentina, you cannot expect the characters to like speak like Castilian Spanish because it's even unrealistic for the story.
Yeah.
But that is what some reviewers that I have seen are expecting just because they are used to consuming things in a certain way, and that is also damaging for maybe people even from that all the different places in the world, on Spain or Latin America and everything, that want to actually see what the quality of the story is, because then all of the reviews are filled with I can't understand it. This author writes very badly. The I You have to have a glossary so I can understand all of these different words. This is a very bad book. This is badly written. The story doesn't make sense, and it's just because it's not accommodating to this person's particular preferences because they have incorrect expectations of the world, completely revolving around them. Please, Spanish, don't
Yeah.
comment.
One thing that one thing that actually reminded me of is I recently read The Three Body Problem by, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the author's name because I'm going to get it incorrect and don't want to be disrespectful. But the translator actually kept in as much of the uh I guess Chinese localization, if you want to call it that. And then there's just a ton of footnotes that would actually just explain all those things. Like, okay, this is reference, this is what that is. This is the historical context to that. And I actually found that fascinating. And I mean, I'm someone who just enjoys history in general, but to get like, all right, this is actually not necessarily word for word, but essentially the exact thing that they're saying, and then I get the context behind it was very interesting. And I know that book has some problems with it just because it kind of positively views a lot of the Chinese police engagements, but it is what it is. It was an interesting read. So I'm not going to read the sequel because I don't know why it needed a sequel. I thought it was a good book and should have stood alone. But
Another thing that we've been seeing with authors, when it comes to reviews at least, is the fact that we need to express our emotions in a healthy way that isn't public. Um, what's damaging to an author's reputation right now is if they go public with their comments on one-star reviews and what have you. Regardless of what those comments or reviews are, like, oh, the language isn't good, blah, 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 or, unless it's funny, like, oh, this book is too DEI, it's going out in public is bad taste because everyone is going to see you as someone who enjoys drama in a sense. So some way to kind of navigate through that is just to say, or go to like a friend, a trusted friend, and just talk about it with them. And I have like a group of people whenever I'm getting my comments for my alpha version of my story, I always go to them and I sit there and cry about it for like 20 minutes and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm okay." By the way, they were actually right. Like it having a reasonable and I call it a reasonable crash out is fine, but do not do that in public. Do not go say it like drag the reviewer and expect them to be okay with that. Or don't even vague post about it. That is even worse because the reviewer is just going to have that thought in the back of their head like, oh my God, this author is an asshole. Can't
So
believe I follow them.
from a marketing perspective, this has been something that I learned a long time ago, and it's kind of carried forward through really every business I've worked at since. Is when you get a review, you respond to it, but you don't pick a fight because readers, and this was actually more based around businesses. Specifically, I used to work on the Google Maps project where you leave reviews for businesses and whatnot, and you we would always recommend people to respond to those reviews because people are going to see your response and see how you react. And if you come off as immature or whiny, that is actually going to play a huge part in people's perception of you as, in that case, a business owner, in this case, as an author.
I
So,
I will say another thing that you should avoid as an author is something that sounds like it's extremely specific, but it definitely happens way more than we think. And this is me talking to the authors now. If you create fake separate accounts
hmm,
to one-star review other authors' books, especially if they're authors that you think they're in your competition, people are going to notice you're not being as stealthy as you think that you are. A lot of people have gotten in trouble with it. It's what happened last year. I don't remember with whichever author that
hmm,
started just one staring every single book that was like having a debut at the same time frame as them. And your readers are going to notice because it's also very obvious when you do it and then the account has all one-star reviews and the only five-star reviews are your own books. You're not as smart as you think you are, and that's
hmm,
going to be give you a terrible reputation as an author. And we are living in a world in which people are trying to be more informed in their decisions, and even if your books are great, people are not going to want to engage with you because of the problematic stuff that you're doing that is particularly affecting other authors, more likely authors that maybe your readers are possibly going to like as well. So don't do that. It's not really worth it. At the end of the day, it is only going to be damaging for you, the person doing that, and not really for the person that is receiving it. So it's not
yeah.
worth it at all.
Yeah. I honestly have to agree there. I feel like we've seen a lot of those happening recently, especially since like I guess it's not really talked about, but authors are kind of scared right now in a sense, and not in a bad way. It's more of like we don't know the future of our book, but we see something promising and we're a little jealous about it. Instead of expressing our jealousy in a healthy way, it comes out in a sense that is damaging to someone else's reputation for a brief moment, and then it comes back and bites us in the ass. So,
I mean, let's be real. Has anyone ever gotten away with that scheme? I would guess no,
Well,
because there are so many, we'll just call them internet sleuths, or people are just really good at picking up on patterns. And they're
yeah,
like, oh, this is, roughly the same review every single time on every single book. And people are too smart. And I mean, Google, like for their review system, and I just keep up with this because, old habits die
your
hard.
experience.
Yeah. They created a system where like this was actually an industry where people would, create accounts, leave bad reviews on some, leave good reviews on other. And there's like a class action lawsuit now. Like, I forget the number, but I think it was like Google was suing for like billions of dollars to shut these companies down, and because they're just leaving fraudulent reviews, and it came back to bite them. Those companies like the companies that paid for the reviews got shut down on Google. The companies that created the reviews got shut down and sued. Like it never ends well. And obviously, Goodreads isn't going to have the same level of technical capabilities as Google, which is why they rely on people just identifying things. And quite frankly, they're going to be a little more vehement about it than multinational corporation because people form relationships with books, they form relationships with authors, they form relationships with the characters, so they care a lot more. Like that's why you see these things in the major news, whereas what I'm discussing, it was like a footnote in a marketing email I got one day.
Well, another thing is that Goodreads does kind of like have a Goodreads customer support is not ideal, but they do have a support that does look into those things also. So like even you as a reader can like flag them and be like, hey, this like looks kind of bizarre. And I have personal experience in them actually like reviewing those accounts and everything. And also with the whole like, has anyone gotten away with this? I believe that there's a lot of people out there that believe that they have gotten away with, and that's why they keep doing it. Obviously, I'm very being very specific right now, but I've seen a lot of things, and they keep doing it, and then unbeknownst to them, it has already damaged their reputation because it's what you said. Readers really care about books.
Hmm.
They really care about the industry. They really care about, especially indie readers, they care about supporting the author that is behind that. And there are a lot of great books out there. So if I had to choose in between a great book written by a bad person or a great book written by a good person, I
Hmm.
will choose the great book written by the good person.
Hmm. And when I say no one's ever gotten away with that, I'm sure there's someone out there who's created like one or two burner accounts and done the good review, bad review.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who create like the networks, like the 20s and 30s of accounts, like that always comes back to bite you. Because at some point, like look at all the people with the burner Twitter accounts. They all get caught eventually. It, it
Just takes
becomes
a little
progressively
while.
clear. Yeah. So here's a question for you. As an author or anyone that's worked in, business that can get a review, is there anything less helpful than a one-star review with no text whatsoever?
I hate that.
I've been,
I hate
I've been
that.
seeing those and I'm like, but why'd you give it a 1 star?
Exactly.
What's wrong
Did
with the
you
book?
did you not like the
Did you
book?
know?
Did you not like the characters? Like that's the thing. Like one star means typically that you eh, disliked it to an extreme amount. Why? Like that actually could be more useful to the author than anything else because you're like, all right, I got a 1 star. Did you not like my writing? Did you not like the plot? Did you not like the setting? Was this marketed incorrectly to you? And if a user can give a decent response when they leave a 1 star review, that can help an author grow. That can help an author market. It is, I don't want to say they're better than 5 star reviews, but I think in a long term, if you get a good 1 star review, a good 1 star review, a helpful 1 star review, it can help you grow as an author or as a marketer, as opposed to, just a bunch of generic 3 star reviews. Like, all right, well, why didn't I get 5 stars? Why didn't I get 1 star? So,
I very rarely try to plug in StoryForge, but I do have personal experience with this, so I am going to plug in StoryForge and talk about how important it is to actually get constructive feedback. And it's something that even though StoryForge doesn't have stars, and it's just feedback, because at the end of the day, that's what we want, just actual, genuine, constructive feedback. I have gotten in the platform when I was starting in the developmental edits on my book, I got like a good amount of extremely constructive comments that were like negatives in a sense, in the sense of like the person really went above and beyond explaining things like I am not understanding why this character did this because A, B, and C. I feel like this part is too repetitive. I don't know. The pacing is feeling weird, and even though like they were paragraphs, like I love them, but it really helped me understand how the story was viewed from the reader's perspective. Because sometimes we as authors we're too close to it that we can't see the big picture, and it helped me with like the rest of the edits to explain a little bit more character motivations, maybe introduce certain plot threads way earlier, change the pacing, make sure that things didn't feel repetitive. And at the end of the day, that was way better than if I had received like, yay, this is
hmm.
amazing, which is the issue with other platforms that you can may put comments but not necessarily are focused on feedback. I have experience with Wattpad, and Wattpad is just like you comment whatever. A lot of the comments are bookmarks that other people leave in it, just they just leave a dot. And a lot of the comments are like update. Please update. Please
Hmm.
update. Please
Yeah.
update. And the third one is like, oh my God, I like it. This is so cool. And while all of those comments have different variations of a good, a bad, or a neutral, at the end of the day, none of those are particularly helpful for the author. Yeah, if I read that someone likes it, oh yeah, they like it. I would want to know why you like it. I want to know why you resonated with it. That's the problem whenever just, and I am someone that sometimes leaves reviews like on Goodreads with like no comment because it's like I just put like stars and everything,
That
but
look.
it's, I know, but it's like whenever it's like 5 stars and I really just like honestly enjoyed the thing, but I try not to do it, okay? I try to go back and write stuff, but I think it's particularly detrimental if there's anything that you have to say that is constructive for the author and you are living it away. Like for example, right now I'm reading the Lunar Chronicles, and I literally just I believe just I like every single thing. It's like this bio and the likes. I like every single thing about those books. I have my expectations are just I want to enjoy the thing, and that's it. If I enjoyed it, excellent book. I had a blast. That's it. I'm a very like leisurely reader like that. So when I
Yeah.
go back and add my comments, it's probably just not going to be super constructive. But if it's a book that for a specific reason I disliked or I didn't like the way that something was treated, I I got that. I definitely would leave a review explaining to the again the prospective readers if there's, for example, I got that, a pacing issue. And it's something that like I'm very turned off by pacing issues. I think I already mentioned it. I can be like even to the readers. Again, I'm switching topics, but a review for the readers like, hey, this book pacing starts like being very fluctuating in the second half. At least the readers will know maybe that's not something that I want to get into right now. And as
I
an
think
author, getting constructive feedback can help you become better at your craft and all of that.
I think one way to kind of summarize that is a hug chamber versus constructive feedback. Or like, you know, people will just getting feedback like, OMG, I love it is great, but however, like it feels like such a hug chamber. It's like, why was it great? Where was it great? Like you're right. I noticed on StoryForge I've gotten a lot more constructive feedback and questions from readers than I have ever gotten in just other platforms. I didn't notice that until now.
And this was not supposed to be a commercial for StoryForge. It just
It's
happened
not.
because we all work for
Eh,
StoryForge and we
Yeah,
write
and
on
we
the
use the
platform.
platform.
I I didn't notice that until now. That is so
Yeah.
funny.
But yeah, so anyway, the moral of the story is if you're going to leave the review, please leave context with it. If you're going to leave, especially a very good review or a very bad review, more context is more helpful for your author, more helpful for fellow readers, and just you can have a better understanding of, excuse me, the author can have a better understanding of what or why you like about the book. So, I mean,
Also, authors don't go into your reviews and try to make pick up
yeah.
fights with your readers. That is
Yeah.
very bad.
And it's also worth saying that you're not going to make every reader happy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Don't
Yeah.
there,
make fake accounts.
yeah.
That is stupid.
Well, but I mean, think about like there are the books that are considered classics these days. They're, most the classics, we all had to read in high school English. I mean, quite frankly, I didn't like most of those. Like everyone's like, oh, Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens or whatever it's called. So good. I'm like, this sucks. So, no, you're not gonna make everyone happy. Don't be sad when you get a 1-star review. Hopefully it is something constructive, but you're not gonna please everybody. So hopefully the majority of reviews are 4 and 5 stars. Any other thoughts?
Please don't go public with their crash outs. Just do anything else but that. That's
Just
all.
go get a hug from some friends.
Yeah.
You could surround yourself in a hug chamber if you want.
And on that note, just remember, publishers behaving badly. It's not you, it's them.